A vanished portrait on a palace wall can shake a dynasty more than 1,000 front pages. In the East Gallery of Clarence House, a single empty nail appeared where once hung the 9th birthday photograph of Princess Charlotte. No explanation. No memo. No hint of rotation. Just absence, raw and deliberate, staring at every passerby like a wound. In a world where every object is coded, where furniture whispers allegiance and family photos scream hierarchies, the removal was not a mistake. It was a declaration. The absence said what no press officer would dare to: Charlotte had been cut out of the picture. And within hours, that message reached the one man who would never allow his daughter to vanish, her father. The act was attributed to Queen Camila, framed in her gentle tone, the polished civility of a woman who has survived by smiling through daggers. A comment about ambience, a preference for balance, the pretense of curation. But anyone who has lived inside royal walls knows better: nothing is ever just ambience. In these corridors, pictures are policy. Frames are laws. A child removed from the wall is a child removed from the story. Charlotte alone was erased. George remained. Louis remained. The heir and the spare stayed put. Only the girl whose eyes recall Diana, whose spark unsettles comparisons, was taken down. And that choice vibrated through the palace machine with the unmistakable hum of danger. Those who had served Elizabeth II felt it first. The housekeepers who knew that dusting a photograph was as sacred as dusting an altar. The footmen trained to read silences. The archivists who recorded smiles like treaties. They all understood: the removal was not aesthetic, it was existential. For a monarchy that communicates in symbols, this was as loud as treason. One loyal voice could not bear the silence. A palace worker placed a careful call to Kensington, a whisper across secure lines: "It's Charlotte's birthday portrait. It's gone." At her request, Catherine heard first. She did not need a headline to explain it. Her stomach recognized the gesture instantly. For years she has studied the monarchy's language with more precision than journalists. The choreography of balcony positions, the furniture of Christmas broadcasts, the portraits behind every desk. She knows the Crown edits history in frames as much as in speeches. She recognized erasure. And when William came home, she told him. He looked at the mantel where their family photographs sat like anchors: George solemn, Louis mid-laugh, Charlotte steady and mischievous. He moved her frame to the center, a father's tiny act of rebellion, and then he asked for the logs. William's calm has often been mistaken for passivity. Those who see only the silence forget what forged it. A boy who watched his mother's image erased from corridors, who survived his own childhood as a war against distortion. Outrage only feeds the machine, facts starve it. Within hours, his secretary was instructed to collect East Gallery records: who signed keys, who authorized removals, who handled the silver frame. He wanted the evidence pinned down like butterflies under glass, undeniable, permanent. William was not raging. He was preparing to strike with precision. Camilla has spent her entire adult life surviving storms. She knows how to outlast newspapers, how to recast narratives, how to tidy ghosts out of rooms until only the reigning sovereign glows. But she also knows the shadow she can never dispel: Diana's. The public does not see Camilla without seeing the woman she replaced. And in Charlotte, with Catherine's calm and Diana's eyes, that story marches on, alive, inconvenient, untidy. To remove Charlotte's portrait was not just curating a wall. It was an attempt to curate memory itself. The removal was elegant, almost surgical. No confrontation, no notes, just a nod about harmony, a hand lifting the silver frame, a journey into storage where so many objects vanish into velvet-lined oblivion. In another family it would mean nothing. In this family it meant everything. Would anyone notice? Would anyone dare to challenge the Queen? For a day, perhaps, she thought the silence would hold. Then William appeared. He arrived without aides, without press, without entourage. Just himself. Staff moved aside instinctively, not because of protocol, but because they recognized the expression. This was no boy waiting his turn. This was a man who will be king and who refuses to watch his daughter edited out of royal narrative. He walked into the white drawing room where Camilla sat, papers in hand, and asked one question: why was Charlotte's photograph removed? His tone was measured. Not cold, not theatrical, but exact. The kind of tone that leaves no room for evasion. Camilla offered the language she has used all her life: ambience, tones, coherence, balance. She spoke of curatorial rotations, of visual harmony. But William had already checked the facts. George remained. Louis remained. Only Charlotte had been singled out. This is not about tones, he said evenly. This is about legacy. The sentence fell between them with the weight of a verdict. And then he delivered the line that changed the game: put it back. Publicly. That single word detonated. Privately returned portraits disappear again in whispers. Public returns reframe the monarchy. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply drew the line with a ruler's hand. And he left, as he had entered, without theatre. Because true power is measured by how quietly it can redraw history. The return of the portrait was as carefully orchestrated as its removal, but its symbolism was unmistakable. A royal collection van, conservators in gloves, a new gilt frame broader and brighter than the last. And not restored to its former spot, but elevated beside the grand staircase, the artery of palace life, impossible to avoid. Beneath it, a polished brass plate engraved: Princess Charlotte of Wales, the future of the monarchy. Not a correction. A proclamation. A child once erased, now enshrined as thesis. Catherine explained it gently to her daughter. Children need mercy, not palace politics. Sometimes people forget, she said softly, but Daddy reminded them. Charlotte listened and asked the only question that matters: why? Catherine spared her the brutal truth. The brass plate answered it for history. For insiders, the paperwork will remain: logs, inventories, registers, proof of intervention. Future historians will see the line in black and white: the prince requested prominence, visibility, acknowledgement. He insisted the image could not be overlooked. That is how monarchies write themselves, not only in speeches and ceremonies, but in inked notes and brass screws. Camilla passed the staircase days later. She paused, then walked on. She did not comment. In these halls, silence is the most eloquent admission of defeat. She knows how to retreat and regroup, how to shift her influence into other corners. She has played this game for decades. But this moment will remain, the day the future king reminded her that his daughter, Diana's granddaughter, is not an accessory to be rotated out of sight. She is the continuation of a story the monarchy cannot rewrite, no matter how much it wishes to. Portraiture has always been the monarchy's first media strategy. Holbein's Henry VIII, Victoria's sepia families, Elizabeth's televised coronation, every age has used images to project permanence. To remove Charlotte was to kink the line of that continuity. To restore her, in brighter gold and sharper prominence, was to shout that the line endures. Defenders of Camilla will argue she has the right to arrange her home, that she has earned her place through decades of service. They will say she has calmed a king, carried causes, stood steady. All true. But you cannot curate away memory. You cannot airbrush a child out of the nation's story, because her bloodline evokes a ghost you cannot vanquish. The people see Charlotte not as inconvenience, but as promise. And William, by forcing her reinstatement, has turned that promise into policy. The monarchy did not collapse this week. It remembered itself. Not as a court that bends to egos, but as a lineage carried forward by children who inherit not only duty but memory. A vanished portrait tried to tell one story. A father walked into a room and wrote another. And for years to come, every visitor climbing that staircase will see Charlotte's steady eyes and mischievous smile, set in gilt, labeled the future of the monarchy. They will not see absence. They will see presence, louder, prouder, unerasable. Because on the day her portrait was removed, her father ensured that history itself put it back.